Hello everyone. We began with the teachings of new thinkers in the 6th century. We discussed about the rise of Buddhism and Jainism, the two main philosophical religions that developed in India, not only in India, but they spread in different parts of the world. Very surprisingly, Buddhism at that time, as compared to Jainism, became very popular in India, but today Buddhism is more popular outside India. There are a number of Buddhists outside India. There are a number of Buddhists in Sri Lanka, Thailand, Indonesia, China, Central Asia. There are so many Buddhist and Buddhist traditions and Buddhist culture is there. We also discussed about the Sanchi Stupa yesterday, that Sanchi Stupa had 4 gateways, and the northern gateway, French wanted to take it over because this was the tendency among the Europeans, that whenever they came to India, like they took away Kohinoor from India, whenever they came to India, they wanted to take away the heritages, they wanted to take away the artistic things, sculptures, etc. Even the gate of Sanchi Stupa, they wanted to take it to their own country and wanted to decorate it in their gardens, in their museums, etc. Thanks to Shah Jahan Begum and Sultan Begum of Bhopal, they restricted all this and they didn't allow the French and the English to take it away. Rather, they gave them the plaster Paris, the copy of that particular gate. But it did not happen in later, because in the coming chapter, in the preceding chapter, we will study about Amaravati Stupa, about which we will read that our own king, he did not care about this heritage, and today we only see the remains of Amaravati Stupa in Andhra Pradesh. Now we take this topic further, and now something to talk about Mahavir Jain. The 24th Tirthankara, it has been said after going through the text, after going through the different textual evidences, it is said that Jainism was not new to India. Before Mahavira, there were 23 Tirthankaras as teachers in the northern part of India. Already they taught the people about non-killings, about non-violence, etc. However, Mahavir Jain, he told people that the whole world is animated. In his teachings, he told people that world is animated and everything contains life. We were discussing in our previous lecture also that Mahavira even stressed upon the fact that even the rocks, even the stones, that means even in the non-living things, there is life. And we should observe, we should observe penance, self-indulgence, and we should also observe asceticism. Remain away from all these worldly things. And before anyone adopted Jainism, or before anyone became the disciple of Mahavir Jain, the person was supposed to take 5 vows, VOWS. Any person, anyone who wanted to be the disciple of Mahavira, or whoever wanted to adopt Jainism, had to take 5 vows. And you will see that all the 5 vows are based on morality, because both the religions, Buddhism and Jainism, they did not stress upon any divine power, anything which is divine, or like in the Hindu scriptures, it has been written that there is a divine power, that everything is divine, and that there is mention of miracles, supernatural powers, and people were following all that. But these two religions, they did not stress upon any supernatural powers. Instead, they stressed upon enlightenment. Instead, they stressed upon knowledge. And knowledge too, that was in the right path, the right knowledge, the right faith, right meditation. Correct? So before that, before anyone wanted to become a Jainist or wanted to adopt Jainism, there were 5 vows to be taken, and the first and the foremost was abstain from killing. Abstain, remain away from killing. non-killing. In Buddhism and Jainism, both, there is lots of stress on non-killing, and in Jainism we see more of it, a larger part of non-killing, because in some of the facts we come across that even in Jainism people walked barefooted, because if they wear any footwear, that would be killing of so many things. Correct? So a lot of stress was laid on killing. Abstain from killing. Correct? Second is abstain from stealing. You yourself will see that all these things, they are based on moral values. This is based on our morality. Non-stealing, don't steal anyone's things. Abstain, remain away from stealing things. Then also abstain from lying, telling a lie, lying, abstain from it, don't lie. So a very true religion, a religion that is based on morality, on the moral values. Observe celibacy, non-marrying, celibacy, which means that remain individual, don't get married, and look after the proper arrangement in the society, look after that people follow this religion according to the vows that they have taken. And then abstain from possessing property. Lead a very simple life, a life of asceticism. That abstain, don't go for property, do abstain from possessing it, abstain from possessing property. So before anyone wanted to be in Jainism, there were 5 vows to be taken at that time. And penance, here we are discussing about. Penance means whatever you have done previously, if we repent for it, we have grievances about it, we repent on our immoral deeds, then penance will give us a right path to observe all these things. Non-killing, remain away from lying, etc. Penance. Moreover, self-indulgence means everyone, every human being have to be self-indulged. Self-indulgence means review yourself. Review yourself. After observing penance, after I told you that lead a life of asceticism, then self-indulgence, we have to observe what we have done and what we have not to do, because they believed in birth and rebirth. And according to Jainism, our rebirth is totally dependent on the karma, on the actions that we perform. The action that we perform in our life, that will be the basis of our rebirth. So a very simple, very philosophical view of religion was there, where there was no place for any ritual, there was no place for any ceremony, but to lead a simple life that you can see in the vows. Even in the modern period, even in the contemporary period, our great philosophers, they lay stress on morality, moral values, that helping hands are better than the hands that are there for the prayer, but there should be helping hand. The same philosophy is going on here in the 6th century, such a long time. Correct? And then again we switch over to because we are discussing about the 2 religions in this chapter, again Buddhism, which I told you not only spread in India but even outside, particularly Buddhism, Central Asia, China, Korea, Japan, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, and we see a number of Buddhist culture, a number of Buddhist followers, Buddhist culture outside India. Correct? Now something about Lord Buddha. He was Siddhartha, his childhood name, and he belonged to the Sakya clan, and he was a prince. And from his childhood, because a priest told the father of Siddhartha that he should be kept away from the worldly affairs, because if he see the people's sufferings, the grievances of the people, his life would be changed. So a priest had told the father of Siddhartha, who was the king at that time of the Sakya clan, that you have to keep your son away from all these worldly affairs, because the world is traumatic. Traumatic means full of trauma. people dying of hunger, people suffering with diseases, people are not able to fulfill their desires, so they are unhappy. So the world is full of all these things. The world is traumatic. So the father of Siddharth, they belong to the Lumbini, the particular part where they belong. And in Lumbini, he kept all the restrictions on Siddharth from his childhood, that he should not come in contact with the traumatic world, that the child should not know about the sufferings of the people. Traumatic world, sufferings of the people should not be seen. However, through the hagiographies, you have read about the autobiography, you have read about the biographies, but here you are getting another word, that is hagiography. Hagiography means the biography of saints. Through that we come to know that how Siddharth, a day came that he asked the people who were surrounding him to take him to the roadside, to take him among the people, and he wanted to visit the kingdom. And when he went out, he saw a dead body, he saw people suffering with disease, he saw a person who was very lean and thin, he was not even able to walk himself. So immediately his thinking, his mind was totally turned. Actually, he was not at all interested in princely life, he was not at all interested in the luxurious life, and after watching all these, he decided to become a saint. And then he went for the enlightenment, he meditated, and after so many days of meditation, he got enlightenment, he got powers, he got enlightenment, and then he decided to propagate this religion known as Buddhism, correct? And after that, his life as a teacher, as a thinker began. Through the text, through the different texts that are available to us in Pali, Prakrit, Tamil language, we come through three Pitakas that are given to us by Buddha, by Buddhism. Three Pitakas. They contain Vinay Pitak, Sut Pitak, and Abhidham Pitak. These are the literary works on which our study of Buddhism is depending. It depends upon. So in the three categories of the literature, Vinay Pitak, Sut Pitak, and Abhidham Pitak, it contains like this. In the Vinay Pitak, we see that it comprises of rules and regulations about Buddhism, about how a person, if they wanted to have an entry in the chaityas, in the stupas, what rules and regulations are there for the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, about which we will discuss tomorrow in detail, who were bhikkhus and bhikkhunis in the monasteries and in the architectural setups of Buddhism. So Vinay Pitak contains rules and regulations about it. Second compilation, that is Sut Pitak. Sut Pitak contains the teachings of Buddha. We will discuss it in detail. Buddha, in short, Buddha taught if people want to reduce their sorrows, because the world is full of sorrows, and if people wanted to reduce their sorrows, they have to give up their desires, because as he observed as a philosopher, as he came to know through his meditation, that people have a number of desires, and when these desires are not fulfilled, it causes sorrow. Correct? So all these teachings have been written in Sut Pitak, his eightfold path, about which we will discuss tomorrow in detail. Eightfold path. All these teachings have been mentioned in the Sut Pitak. And finally, in the Abhidham Pitak, or Dham Pitak you can call it, the philosophical ideas, the philosophical views of this philosopher, of this thinker, Buddha, have been written in detail. So we go through the three Pitakas, the three Pitaks, we go through a lot of information about Buddhism, about its philosophy, about its teachings at that time. We will come through in this topic, that how people came in the life of Buddha, and how Buddha, instead of showing them his supernatural powers, instead of showing that he meditated and he got some special powers, instead of it, he showed people the true path. He showed people that if our actions are good, if we are a true human being, that then nothing can harm us, and we shall be away from the sorrows, we shall be away from any traumatic sight of the world if we observe all these things, all these teachings, all these philosophical ideas that are given to us in the hagiographies, in the literary works, in the sculpturist examples, through the monuments, through the relics of Buddha, etc. So students, go through your NCERT pages 89, 90, 91, go through all these topics, prepare your notes. Again we will meet with a new enthusiasm and with new energy to discuss about Buddha more and more, that how later this religion was further divided into Mahayana and Hinayana, and what were the aftermaths of it, and how the religion became popular everywhere, and how people, they observed all these philosophical ideas in their daily life. A very good bye from me.